It is clear that they failed to meet this test. In response, as soon as I am able, I will be introducing legislation that would reverse the official plan decisions for Barrie, Belleville, Guelph, Hamilton, Ottawa, the City of Peterborough, as well as the regional municipalities of Halton, Niagara, Peel, Waterloo, York, and Wellington County. The legislation would wind back provincial changes to official plans and official plan amendments, except in circumstances where construction has started or where doing so would contravene existing provincial legislation and regulation. This includes winding back changes to urban boundaries. We want to make sure that the reset plans match our shared ambitions to build more homes, especially now that these municipalities have made their housing pledges. That is why we will be asking impacted municipalities to submit changes and updates to those plans to ministry staff within 45 days, including information on projects that are already underway. And finally, in recognition of associated costs, we will work with them to assist the planning staff on the costs that they would have incurred. Now, our goal is to work closer with Ontario municipalities to ensure that we continue to meet our goal of building 1.5 million homes across the province of Ontario. And with that, I can take any questions that you might have.
Minister, what is it about the process that has made you pull back on all these official plans? We know some things about the process, similar to the Greenbelt, involving some of the same people who are no longer employed by the government, and involving direct requests from developers. So is this a response to a process that looked like some people had their fingers in the cookie jar?
Yeah, so when I got there, when I was appointed, one of the first things I did was start to look at the Toronto City Plan, and as well as some of the others that I just mentioned. And in some instances, I just think there was too much involvement from the minister's office, individuals within the minister's office. So we started a process with the City of Toronto that I want to expand to the rest of these municipalities, where we accepted the changes that that they were contemplating. We looked at where they're in line with the provincial policy statement, and then working closely with them to see on where we could agree on some of the other changes that were in the plan. It's working very well, I think, with the City of Toronto, and this is a process that I want to do with the other municipalities. It's, as I said, it's about building a better relationship with them. I want to make sure that that we work with them, with home builders, to ensure that we can meet our target of 1.5 million homes.
To clarify, so
Yep.
Hamilton, Halton, their boundaries go back to the official plans they had submitted?
That they had submitted,
a frozen
yes.
urban boundary with no expansion, something
Yeah.
the government repeatedly said would be a disaster?
And we will allow, as I said, 45 days for impacted municipalities in these areas to reach out to ministry staff and work with them to identify any additional amendments or improvements that they might want to make to their official plans, which would then necessitate another piece of legislation to modify those
Minister,
in response to the municipalities.
Minister, are you also going to cancel some of the more controversial MZOs? We have the Auditor General looking at the MZO process. Is that the next wave of flip-flop from the government?
I'm looking at, as I said, I'm almost complete my review of MZOs. By and large, a vast majority of them, frankly, I'm not concerned with. Look, as I said, many of them were requested by me as Minister of Long-Term Care. A huge number from Ministry of Infrastructure to move forward with infrastructure improvements so that we could do some of the transit-oriented communities and some other work. City of Toronto have them for social housing. Where I want to look at, just to full disclosure, is those that have been given an MZO but work has not started in any way. But by and large, I'm fairly satisfied with where we are on the MZOs, and I'm almost complete that.
And do you know if the RCMP has interviewed anyone in the government yet related to the land swap scandal?
Yeah, we have not been contacted. They've not reached out to us yet. As I said, we're prepared to assist in any way possible.
Minister, are you alleging here that your predecessor, Minister Clark, did something wrong? You said there was direct involvement in this process by the minister and staff involved. So are you alleging that Minister Clark did something wrong here, that you would have to reverse his decisions?
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that the process that I put in place that I want to follow is similar to what we've done with the City of Toronto. Looking at what they suggested in their official plan, ensuring that it meets provincial standards through the provincial policy statement, and then where we have a difference of opinion on some of the things that may have come through the minister's office or through the department, working with them on a one-on-one basis. But clearly there was, the process was one that I was just not comfortable with. I think there was just a little bit too much involvement from the previous, from individuals within the previous minister's office on the official plans in these areas. We'll have municipalities submit some additional changes over the next 45 days. I fully expect, frankly, having spoken to a lot of our municipal partners, that many of the changes that the department brought forward will likely come back, but that will be up to them. I just want to, if I can, also just say thank you to Mayor Sutcliffe in Ottawa. I had a long discussion with him last time I visited Ottawa a couple of weeks ago, and and he reiterated, there's a really good opportunity for us to work together. And in a much more cooperative fashion. We share the exact same goals, and I think that helped frame a lot of where I'm going today.
These decisions, though, typically, I mean, there's a process in this government where the Premier's office is aware of all of these decisions and approves all of these decisions. So you're saying that the Premier's office didn't approve these decisions that were being made by the Minister or his Chief of Staff or anyone involved? Was the Premier's office not also part of this?
No, what I'm saying is, look, I made it very clear that when I was appointed, that I was going to take a look at everything that had been done, whether it was a Greenbelt, whether it was official plans and MZOs, and where that process differed from previous processes. I was going to look at it to ensure that it meets both our goal of building 1.5 million homes, first and foremost. Secondly, that it meets the high standards that I would expect, and it meets the goals of ensuring public trust and faith in the process. I think there was a little bit too much involvement, specifically from the previous minister's office. Look, these official plan changes, I'm learning there are thousands. These are very difficult documents to get through. There are thousands of changes that are brought forward by municipalities, so it's very intense and in-depth work, and that's why I think the process has to be one that meets the highest standards, but in a very unique situation right now as well, because we want to build 1.5 million homes, and that has been the overriding goal of everything that we've been trying to do through the housing supply action plans in the past. So I don't want to, I want to do this now, work with the municipalities over the next 45 days, so that we can ensure that whatever we need to do to meet that goal, but work with them, work with home builders, so that we can ensure that we remain on track to building those 1.5 million homes.
Waterloo, we know that a number of the changes came at the request of unidentified third parties. Can you tell us who some of those third parties were?
No, look, again, it's just where we differ from what the municipalities put forward, where they didn't meet the provincial policy statement. Obviously, we work with the municipalities to make sure all of the plans meet the provincial policy statement at a bare minimum. At the same time, in instances like that, that is why I'm reverting back to what the municipalities have put in place, but also giving them the opportunity. We've heard from some that when they initially brought in their plans and where they are today might require some additions. So we're going to give them the opportunity to do that. But this really is a reset for me as a minister to work with my municipal partners so that we can remain focused on working together. It's part of the reason why, as well, why there was a change in the definition of affordable housing, working with our municipal partners to get that definition in. So it really is, for me, it's a reset. It's an opportunity to work with them, but also ensure that we remain on track to building the homes.
Minister, you talked about assisting them on costs they incurred. Can you tell us a bit more about what that entails?
Yeah. So obviously, as I said, these documents, they take a tremendous amount of work, both in consultations within the municipality and externally. So I'm cognizant of the fact that we're asking them to do an additional review over the next 45 days. So I think it's only fair that we assist them in that.
And does that go for Pickering and Grimsby as well on their Greenbelt costs?
Yeah, look, I know last week I said that I would not, but I think given where I'm at today, I think I'll definitely add Grimsby and Pickering in and review what the costs that they have as well.
In the legislation that you're promising, will there be provisions to protect the government against lawsuits over this decision?
Yes, there will be.
And I have a question.
I'll go up there.
Just want to clarify one thing quickly.
Yeah.
If you go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question from my colleague Mike on the Greenbelt land in Markham owned by Minotaur Holdings. The Integrity Commissioner said the property was unique because ministry official recommended it for removal. So why are you now treating it exactly the same way as other lands, and why are you putting it back in the Greenbelt and stopping the company from pursuing its lawsuit?
Yeah, look, we've said the Greenbelt decision was a public policy decision that was not supported. The process was not supported by individuals, so they're no different. They're not being treated any differently. It's a public process that was not supported. The one that we brought in place, I think the review will still commence on the Greenbelt, but it will be based on, as I've said on a number of occasions, on protection of water resources, protection of natural heritage, and preservation of farmland, and you know, and that's where I want to go on the Greenbelt. I think that is. That's where the people of the province of Ontario are, and that's where we're going to go. I'm sorry, just last one.
You mentioned Toronto. You're working with Toronto. Are
Yeah.
you undoing the changes that Minister Clark made to Toronto's midtown and downtown plans that caused a lot of friction? Is that part of the review?
Yeah, look, whatever, all of the plans that we have that have not been approved by the City of Toronto right now, we're working very closely with them to ensure. I will say this, they're much in line, though, with like transit-oriented communities, and that has changed since when they have delivered it. So no, what I have in front of me right now, and that has not been approved, that is what we're working on with the City of Toronto. And if I could just say again, like the municipalities have been great in this. They are very much focused on helping us meet our goal of 1.5 million homes. Process wasn't one that I think helps get us on the path, or keep us on the path of building that 1.5 million homes. I think this will certainly help us do that. And again, thank you all for your consideration.
On those Toronto OPAs, the ones that are still sitting on your desk?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everybody. Have a good day.